Part 1. She was quite a doll. She wore a white, belted raincoat, no hat, a well-cherished head of platinum hair, booties to match the raincoat, a folding plastic umbrella, a pair of blue-gray eyes that looked at me as if I had said a dirty word. She wore night sheer stockings. Christian Dior, she said. I never wear anything else. A light, please. She was a lanky, sunburned girl whose tan dress of thin woolen stuff clung to her with an effect of dampness. Her eyes were brown and playful in a shiny, boyish face. She wore pale blue slacks, and they looked well on her. She walked as if she was floating. Her hair was a fine, tawny wave cut, much shorter than the current page boy tresses curled at the bottom. Her eyes were slate gray and had almost no expression when they looked at me, erect and high-breasted. She came over near me and smiled with her mouth, and she had little sharp predatory teeth, as white as fresh orange pith and as shiny as porcelain. They glistened between her thin, too-taut lips. Her face lacked color and didn't look too healthy. A light, please. A girl got up from the table where she had been sitting with 3 other people and came over to me. Her eyes were shiny black shoe buttons. She was small and blonde, and whether you looked at her face or at her body in powder blue sports clothes, the result was satisfactory. I said, yes. She wore night sheer stockings. I had said a dirty word. She wore a white belted raincoat, no hat. Gretchen Grimes was about 240 pounds of middle-aged, putty-faced woman in a black tailor-made suit. Her eyes were shiny black shoe buttons. Her cheeks were as soft as sweat and about the same color. She was sitting behind a black glass desk that looked like Napoleon's tomb, and she was smoking a cigarette in a black holder that was not quite as long as a rolled umbrella. She said, I need a man. She came running into the room, the tall Parisian girl I had seen at the reception. Her eyes were wide and dark with excitement. Her face was very white and wet. Water ran in streams down her blue waterproof cape, the hood of which covered her dark hair, and they looked well on her. She was sitting behind a black glass desk that looked like Napoleon's tomb, and she was smoking a cigarette in a black holder that was not quite as long as a rolled umbrella. She said, I need a man. A voice said, thank you, so softly that only the purest articulation made the words intelligible, and a young woman came through the doorway. She advanced slowly with tentative steps, looking at him with cobalt blue eyes that were both shy and probing. She was tall and pliantly slender, without angularity anywhere. Her body was erect and high-breasted, her legs long, her hands and feet narrow. She wore 2 shades of blue that had been selected because of her eyes. The hair curling from under her blue hat was darkly red, her full lips more brightly red. White teeth glistened in the crescent her timid smile made. I opened the other envelope. It contained a photograph of a girl. The curtain swung aside, and the green-eyed, thigh-swinging ash blonde from Quimby's joined us in the room. She plays fast tennis. All right. All right, this next piece is called Alien Laced. All right. Luis Apista studied the room with half-open eyes. Man, who is he? Where is he? Why is he here? This plane wasn't meant to fly. It has no wings, but some incredible force is flying me in it. But, Luis reflected, as he swallowed the coffee, that gummy concoction was worth it. If you were stoned, that is. Stoned, he was that. Stoned, smashed, blind, turned on and flying so high, and so cool and everything, so just exactly right. The evidence supporting this phenomenon is overwhelming, but Luis was in another world. His head lolling back, his eyes veiled, and one hand lying limp on the table before him like a discarded napkin. And in time, we hope to make Orange Wig a name to be feared by pot smokers everywhere. One of the earliest and most often cited records is the story of Chuck Yeager's plane. Now it came to pass in the 30th year, in the 4th month, and the 5th day of the month, as I was among the captives by the Chicago River, that the heavens were opened and I saw visions of God. That square had bread, man, heavy bread, and he was ready to lay out cab fare just to make a buy, Luis decided. We don't like your kind around here, fatso. Give it to him, Luis. And when the living creatures went, the wings went with them. And when the living creatures were lifted from the earth, the wings were lifted up. He poured the marijuana into the paper from a small brown envelope. From every window, from each rooftop, came hail of garbage, bottles, tin cans. There were many accounts of encounters with tyrants of the air and their aerial ships, pinpoints of lantern light, phantom chariots driven by orange wig appearing in the night sky, into the eyes of Penelope Toussaint. Back off, go chase a mad scientist or something. One day, among other instances, it chanced in Wicker Park that 3 people wearing orange wigs were seen descending from these aerial ships. The entire city gathered about them, crying out that they were mad magicians sent by Luisa Pisa's enemy to destroy the crop of orange wig. These aliens went by the name of AFFA, A-F-F-A. Luisa Pisa heard the pattern of footsteps behind him and saw the familiar figure visible again. And then again over his left shoulder, a man wearing a gray overcoat and a droopy felt hat shading his face. The creep who hasn't spent a cent for repairs in years. It befell that an anchor was dropped from the sky with a rope attached to it, and one of the flukes caught in the arch above the door. 2 hours later, Luisa Pisa smashed Mrs. Miriam Dos Santos' mailbox with a hammer and reclaimed the envelope. Jimmy's is a small Chinese restaurant 1 flight above the street on Milwaukee off Artesian Avenue. Penelope had never seen it before, but now she was eating pork laced with alien vegetables. Luisa Pisa, the poet, was lighting up a joint in the corner. Then he passed the joint to a girl with long red hair, Penelope Toussaint. "I'll smoke," she said. It would be her first time. "Hemp," he said. "Tea, gauge, grass. A million names for a million games. Let's blow up, little girl." "I want to ask the aliens a question, Luis." "Do it, dollface." "Do you favor any government, religious group, or race?" "No, we do not," signed AFFA. The high came gradually. Her body felt dynamically alive. She listened to the blood rushing through her veins and arteries and quivered to the softness of her enveloping clothing. "Will there be a third world war?" "No," signed AFFA. She felt Luis's hand on her arm and her whole body wakened to his touch. Suddenly she wanted him more than ever. "Luis," she muttered, "are Catholics the chosen people?" "No," signed AFFA. "My sweater, Luis," she said, "take it off. Touch me. Touch me, it feels so good, so fine. So wonderfully fine, and I'm high. I'm way up in the air, way up in the air. Can we see a spaceship or a flying saucer?" "When you want to see it," signed AFFA. And then Luis was really making her, through, and it wasn't right, because there they were in a room full of people and everybody could see them, movement by movement. "Can we see it now?" "Go to the window," signed AFFA. Her hips were humming like a dynamo and trying to behave like a centrifuge, whirling, swirling with her good man who felt so good, until the sky fell in and the world blew up in a shower of stars. You hear me? Stars. All over your body. You could smile all over at the sight of your secrets flowing out. "Are we looking in the right direction?" "Yes," signed AFFA. In the time it takes to draw a single breath, the span of a heartbeat, Luisa Pisa looks into his own soul and his life changes. These people don't see the apartment houses with wings, upside-down elephants, chairs, 300-foot-long mosquitoes, or television sets winging their way across the sky. To hell with Atomic's Cafe, Luis thought. The coffee was on the house for a change.